Hello and welcome to this video. So yesterday in Berlin it was 32 degrees and today it is 19 degrees and I feel as though it has changed from summer to autumn in the space of 24 hours. And it's got me feeling very excited for the coming autumn, because even though I suppose autumn is a fairly depressing season because it's about the dying of things, I think there is also comfort in the knowledge that nature will begin again in the coming spring. And I really enjoy to read in autumn because it gets colder and I find it so fun to sit inside with a hot chocolate reading a good book. And so today I thought I'd go through the books that I plan to read in autumn. So first are the fantasy books that I hope to read, and a few days ago I finished The Way of Kings by Rhianna and it's become maybe my new favourite book. I enjoyed it so much. It's been such a long time since I've had this much fun reading a book, and I might continue the series in the coming autumn, but the books are really big. Each one is over 1,000 pages long and this book took up a lot of my life, so maybe I will wait a few weeks, maybe a few months until I pick up the next one. But some other fantasy books that I want to read are The Girl and the Ghost, which is a middle grade story inspired by Malaysian folklore, and it sounds like quite a sweet story about a girl and her friendship with a ghost. Then in the same vein I want to read Odd and the Frost Giant by Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is one of my favourite authors. My favourite book by him is probably Neverwhere. I also enjoy, I think, all of his other books. I don't think I've read one that I don't like. And I think this is maybe like the last one of his publications that I need to read. That might not be true, but one of the last ones. I would also like to read Silence of the Girls. This is inspired by Greek mythology, and I enjoy books on Greek mythology. I can't say I have a broad knowledge on the subject. I know as much as Percy Jackson has afforded me, also as much as Circe has afforded me to know, because I read Circe earlier in this year and I loved it. And I felt like that was a really accessible way into the Greek myths and presented it in an easy to understand way, because I think for me it can be a bit overwhelming to really understand it fully because there's so much out there on each of the different myths. But I'm hoping to learn more, and The Silence of the Girls is very well reviewed. Excited to see what I think. I shouldn't say that for every book, but I am. For all these books, it's apparent that I'm excited to see what I think. Also, another one, Uprooted, which is based on Polish folk lore. That sounds like something I haven't read before, and I've heard a lot of good things. Okay, I also have some horror books that I want to read. I'm not particularly good at reading horror because I get very scared very easily. Like if I read a horror book and it's particularly scary, I just won't sleep at night, or I'll need to sleep with the light on and I'll get scared every time I close my eyes. I'm a bit of a wimp. But two horror books that I have picked out are Juniper and Thorn and Tender is the Flesh. I'm particularly excited by Tender is the Flesh because I've seen it on a lot of weird book lists, and I do enjoy a weird book. Then I have one dystopian that I'm really excited to read, and that is Station 11. This is, I believe, about a disease that wipes out a lot of people, and I feel like I'm still recovering from COVID and how crazy that time was and how the world just shut down, and it wasn't clear really if it would ever become back to how it used to be. And so I think this book might be a bit healing or maybe the opposite because I think it looks at a disease that is much worse than COVID, but we'll see. Then there are also some classics that I would like to read. So I've picked some children's classics. The three children's classics I would like to read are Wind in the Willows, The Railway Children and Peter Pan. I have read Peter Pan before and it's a book that I enjoy a lot, but I haven't read it for quite a while now, so I'd like to read it again. And the other two are stories that I've watched the films of, but I've never read the books. And when I was a kid, I loved those two stories. I can't say I remember much about them, but that's part of the reason I want to read the books, so I can feel nostalgic. What I remember about The Wind in the Willows is that it has a toad in it that like breaks out of prison, and that's kind of my entire memory of it. And then The Railway Children, I remember there's a point in the film where these boys are in a tunnel and then the train is coming, and it really scared me when I was younger. Another classic I want to read is Wuthering Heights. I studied this for A-level and I really didn't enjoy the book. I couldn't really connect with any of the characters, but I feel as though my 17-year-old self liked books in a different way to my 27-year-old self. And so I have a suspicion that I might really enjoy this book at 27. So I want to give it a go again and see if my opinion has changed. Then there's also some mystery books I would like to read because I think autumn is a great time to read mystery books. One of them is The Guest by Emma Cline. I've heard a lot about Emma Cline in recent years, but I've never read any of her books. This is a book that came out in 2023, and I do like where I can to read recent publications, and if I can't do 2024, 2023 is close enough. I would also like to read The Thursday Murder Club. The reason I haven't read this before is because I think the cozy mystery genre is not necessarily my favourite. I think if I am to read a mystery, I prefer it to be a bit more realistic, but I do think that there is potential for me to like a cozy mystery book, and maybe this will succeed in making me enjoy it. Then I also would like to read The Coldest Case, which is a James Patterson Audible original. And what I like about audio originals is they're kind of like plays. You don't really have prose, it's just dialogue. And as a consequence, the story moves quickly and they're often pretty intense. And I like that. Then we're on to literary fiction. And I have, I think, a lot of literary fiction books that I would like to read. And I'll probably read more than is on my list. But these are the ones that I will definitely get to in autumn. The first one is Autumn by Ali Smith. Because it's called Autumn, and I've never read an Ali Smith, and she's a very prominent literary fiction writer, and I want to give her a go. And it sounds like the best time to try her books out, when one of them is called Autumn and autumn is coming. I also want to read Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I think Beautiful World Bar Are You is maybe in my top 5 books of all time. And so I'm really excited to read Sally Rooney's new release, which comes out on the 24th of September, 2024. I also want to read Swimming Home. Another reason is that Deborah Levy, she is a prominent literary fiction writer, and I want to give her books a try. Then also Homegoing. I would like to read this. Was a very popular book a few years ago. I say a few years ago, maybe it was more like 6 years ago. It could have been a while ago, but I never read it at the time, and I was reminded of it the other day, and I thought that is a book I need to get to because a lot of people have loved it and I want to love it too. Then also we have Hamlet, which I think is getting a movie adaptation with Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley, and it's about William Shakespeare, and it's meant to be a really great portrayal of grief, I believe. Then I would also like to read My Sister the Serial Killer because the title is pretty dramatic, and I'm interested to see what the book is about. Well, I mean, I know it's about a sister that's a serial killer, but you know what I mean. Okay, so those are the books on my list to read this autumn. I maybe will read more, maybe will read less. Maybe some of these books, it will come to it and I'll be like, actually, not feeling it. Because I had Way of Kings, for example, on my audiobook app for like maybe 5 months before I got to it, because I really needed to be in the right mind space, because I knew that if I wasn't, the chances were I would get like 7 hours into all the audiobook and then stop, and then if I wanted to get back to it I would probably need to start it again, because there's a lot of information that you need to take in and you can't really listen like half-heartedly. You need to allow yourself to be completely immersed in the world. And so I started it when I was properly ready to read it, and that was a really good decision because I think it really heightened my enjoyment of it. So we'll see. Hopefully all these books will have a moment where I feel compelled to read them. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books and your thoughts on them, because that would be nice to hear some opinions. And I will see you in another video soon. Bye bye.